broke through the clouds. But there it was, the medicine wagon, just a half-mile ahead and still moving along at a good clip. Henry knew he had found Samantha. He stopped and glanced back toward the distant lights of Denver. The men who had come to torture and murder him would be ransacking his medical office, searching for some clue as to his whereabouts. By tomorrow, or the next day for sure, they'd realize that he'd fled town, and then they'd be trying to figure out where he'd gone. North to Cheyenne, west into the Rocky Mountains, or maybe south all the way down to Santa Fe. They'd check the train depot and manage to get the passenger lists, then the stagecoach lines going up to Central City, and finally the liveries to see if he'd rented a saddle horse. When they had turned over every leaf and found nothing, Henry supposed they'd wire their mobster boss in Boston, asking what to do next. Cormac Tully would order them to spread out and keep looking until they found Henry, and then to kill him slow. "Samantha!" Henry finally overtook the medicine wagon, which was actually a Conestoga whose original canvas top had been replaced by a cabin, complete with a shingled roof, through which jutted a bent and rusty stovepipe. Now, with the moonlight bright upon the monstrosity, he again saw how the wheels had been painted red, white, and blue, and the creaking hubs were studded with gold stars. Henry was quite sure there was no other wagon even half as ugly as this great abomination that not only housed Samantha, but also the bottles of snake oil that were sold as the wagon groaned from town to town, bearing a sign that proudly proclaimed, "Dr. Otis J. Palmer, Miracle Healer Emeritus, cures guaranteed, or twice your money back." "Stop!" he shouted breathlessly as he drew up to the driver's box, stumbling with fatigue. The 4 ugly mules pulling the contraption came to a halt, and the nearest one to Henry laid back his long ears and kicked him in the belly, dropping him to his knees. "Badger, dang your hide! I ought to bend a bar over your head 'cause you're as useless as a 4-card flush." Henry had been taught to fight, and he could give as well as take a punch of a heavyweight, but he'd never been hit as hard as he just had by Badger, and wondered if his internal organs had been ruptured. "Doc Henry, you all right?" It took him a few minutes to get enough wind to wheeze, "No." Samantha set the brake and jumped down. She was a beanpole, and none too clean. She smelled nearly as bad as her miserable mules, and produced a corncob pipe, which she lit and commenced to smoke. The stench of her pipe tobacco could down mosquitoes at 50 paces. Henry glared at the mule. "I'd like to shoot him." "Go ahead, but it'll cost you $50. Badger ain't much to look at, but he's stronger than an ox." Henry drew in several deep breaths, and then, by gripping the wagon's front wheel and keeping a safe distance from the vicious mule, he pulled himself erect while Samantha picked up his medical bag and other belongings. "You're traveling fast and light this evening, Doc. Say, you're covered with blood." "I had to dive through a window. The glass cut me up a bit, and I was grazed by a bullet." He pulled his jacket aside and gently touched his ribs, fingers examining them one by one. "None cracked or broken." "You look terrible, Doc." "I feel terrible, and being kicked by your mule didn't help. I just hope the blow didn't rupture my liver or spleen." "Or your gizzard," she added, looking concerned. "So what are you doing out here running like a dog and looking like death?" "It's a long story, and I'm a bit short of words to explain right now, but I need a lift and to hide out in your wagon." "Are you going to Cheyenne?" "For starters, but we can't stay long." "What's this we business, Doc?" Henry was not in the habit of begging. "I'll pay you, but not much." "I'm not talking about money, Doc. I mean to be on my own now that Pa's gone. I'll go wherever the wind blows. As for Cheyenne, I might go there and I might not." "I'd appreciate it if you did," Henry told her. "I might need to catch the train." She studied him for a moment. "You're in big trouble, huh?" "Real big," he confessed. "Then climb on board, Doc." But as for Cheyenne, I'll stay only as long as I can do a good business. Then I'll hitch up the medicine wagon and be on my way with no more of a plan than if I was a tumbleweed." "Thanks," he said, with genuine gratitude. "And I really did promise your father I'd look after you when he was dying in my arms." Samantha scoffed. "Dead men don't remember promises. I can look after myself, which is more than you can say for yourself." "I'm being hunted by assassins," he admitted. "They've just murdered my best friend, Clancy McGuire." "Why?" "It was really me that they wanted dead. I couldn't do anything but dive through a window and run for my life. I feel like a coward." "But you're alive. Why didn't you ask the sheriff for help?" "He'd have jailed me for the bounty that's on my head." "What'd you do?" Henry was getting nervous and wanted to move. "Samantha, it's a long, sad story. Why don't we get rolling, and I'll explain as I patch myself up in your wagon." "All right," Samantha agreed. "But only because I think you really did try to save Pa, and you helped me out with his funeral expenses. Just understand that when we get to Cheyenne, you're on your own. Catch a train going east or west, buy a horse or a buggy, doesn't matter to me. Just understand I don't want company, and my pa taught me not to trust nobody." "Anybody," Henry corrected. "Didn't you have any schooling?" Samantha stood up to her full 5'6" and drew back her thin shoulders. "You calling me stupid, Doc?" "No, you're probably very intelligent, but it's obvious you lack an understanding of proper speech." "You're understanding me right now, ain't you?" "Aren't you?" he corrected. "Can we just get moving?" Samantha's brown eyes narrowed, and she glanced toward Denver. "Them boys that shot your friend Clancy, are they close on your back trail?" "I'm hoping it'll take them a while before they realize I've left town, and then they won't know which direction I've run." "Good. I got troubles enough without taking on yours. You got any money?" "Yes." "That's good news, 'cause my funds are as scarce as bird droppings inside a cuckoo clock." If he hadn't been feeling so exhausted, Dr. Henry Wallace would have laughed. Instead, he hauled himself up into the medicine wagon and sat bent over, still slightly out of breath. "Samantha, your pipe tobacco smells terrible. If you don't like it, walk. You're much too young to smoke. And you're much too bossy, Doc. Why don't you quit trying to tell me how to live? Let's talk about where you call home. Well, I'll bet the closest you ever came to a cow was a half-cooked steak." "I'm afraid you're right. I didn't come west by choice. I was all set to join my father's successful Boston medical practice and wed a beautiful young woman." Samantha nodded her head as if she had once suffered the same sad fate. "Yep, I understand, Doc. But then everything went as sour as curdled milk. Your rich and pampered life went from steaks to beans." "It sure did." "So, how did it all go so wrong so fast?" Henry reached inside his medical bag for bandages and antiseptics. He didn't want to scare the girl, but neither did he want to lie. "I was attacked on the street by 2 thugs and had to defend myself. Doing so, I killed one of them." Samantha gaped. "And you being a doctor?" "I had been taking boxing lessons from a master pugilist named Robert Mitchell. At my request, he taught me how to deliver a fatal 2-punch combination." "What 2 punches?" "An uppercut to the belly to double over an armed opponent, then another uppercut to the nose to drive nasal bones up into the brain." Samantha clicked her tongue. "Yep, relocating his nose to his brain would put a body on ice. But you said you were jumped by 2 fellas. What happened to the one that lived?" "He ran for his life. I soon learned that I had just killed the only son of the most powerful and corrupt mobster in all of Boston. And when the second man swore in court that I was the aggressor, a bribed judge sentenced me to life in prison without the possibility of parole." "That's terrible. How'd you get free?" "I was being transported in a jail wagon to a federal prison when Robert Mitchell and my father helped me escape. Since that day to this, I've been running and hiding, trying to stay alive." "Because of the killers this mobster sent after you?" "That's right. He vowed to see that I pay with my own life, and not in a quick or easy fashion." Samantha shook her head. How'd you get all the way out to Denver? It took me and Clancy months of travel. We avoided big towns, never rode trains.